First of all, house expensive. Second of all, the houses, we don't have enough in the area that we actually want
to live.
Because majority, not even so we want to live there, David. It's just that we just have to.
You have to cause of traffic and work and where the jobs are.
The jobs are in Kingston. We don't have the housing to sustain everybody.
The supply is a problem, as the Prime Minister said.
David Mullings, why should people listen to you? Why should they listen to this podcast? And just why should they even want to know who you are?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Nobody has ever asked me that question. What I would say to people is that if you can hear from someone who has met 3 billionaires, 2 of them are black billionaires, they've shared their lessons, especially their mistakes, they've shared their decision-making framework, how they approach wealth creation, how they approach keeping that wealth, right? Earning it is one thing, preserving it is a different thing. And that person can explain it in simple language so that their children can understand. You should at least consider listening to that person. You can choose to ignore what they tell you, but at least listen first and then process and decide what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep. That's why I would tell someone, maybe you should consider listening to me.
So you are the billionaire whisperer?
Yeah, I like that one. I do like that one. I can work with that.
So who are? So you say you interface with billionaires and stuff like that. And for the average person, it's out of reach for them even think about.
Think about that.
It's even out of reach for people even think about somebody making over minimum wage.
Yeah.
But you've interfaced with people, what, 9 zeros?
Yeah. Michael Leachin. Mike is somebody that he would say he's a coach for me. I talk to Mike on a weekly basis. He has helped me through what we have built here. Robert F. Smith, I've got to meet with him, second richest black man in the United States now. And he's given me some very good advice. I'm going to sit with him again in a few weeks in New York. And these guys have been open, and they're so normal. I never forgot when Mike Leachin was saying to me that, remember I wipe my ass with my right hand too. And I was like, that right there just made me change how I think about it. I was like, okay, yeah, but you're normal. They want to be seen as also down to earth. They've done something that's larger than life, but they're still normal human beings who want to be treated as human beings, not walking wallets. They don't want you to put them on a pedestal either. And they're happy to share information when you ask. They want you to be eager, because they have made mistakes and they want to pass it on. They want to pay it forward. And so those are the two main ones. There's another billionaire that I know. I won't use his name, but he's out of the Bahamas, and he has shared some really good information. 4th generation in terms of wealth, and that's incredible. So those are the billionaires I get to meet, one I talk to on a regular basis. And then I've met some other people that are worth more than $100 million, generating a lot of cash in a range of investments, but everybody has some exposure to real estate at some point. No surprise.
Real estate. We're going to touch back on that because this is going to be a pivotal part of the podcast. But I see a label on your shirt here that says Blue Mahoe Capital.
Yes.
So what is that? And what part do you play in it?
Yeah, I've loved. So I'm the founder, chairman and CEO of Blue Mahoe Capital. Is one of the core companies in Blue Mahoe Holdings portfolio. So I wanted to build a Caribbean Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett is who I look up to. I'm a disciple of Warren Buffett. Just like how Michael Leachin is a disciple of Warren Buffett. What Mike would say is that you want to identify a role model, get the recipe, don't change the recipe. Can only change the recipe when you exceed that role model. So he picked Warren Buffett because he was going into the investment industry, mutual funds in Mike's case. So I have the same kind of idea. Warren Buffett, I want to do investments, but I want to focus on the Caribbean. And when you get that recipe becomes a framework. And what Mike would say again is that you have a framework for making decisions. You need to have control of emotions. You have control of emotions by always reverting to the framework when you're making a decision. And then lastly, you need access. Access to good people, access to good deals, access to capital. Not enough people focus on the decision-making part. Everybody want access. Just give me some money, give me some... No. You need to have a decision-making framework for how you're going to deploy the capital or how you say no to a deal. And those are some of the important things that I've learned. So with Blue Mahoe Holdings, I wanted to create a Caribbean Berkshire Hathaway. So we want to invest across multiple asset classes. Private equity, where I used to work in the United States, private credit, lending money to people, private businesses. We wanted to make sure we get into public equities. Own series of some really good companies domiciled in strong long-term growth industries run by good management and hold it for as long as the company remains high quality. And then lastly is real estate. So those are the 4 pillars of the business I wanted to create. Think of it as a table or a chair. You
Yeah,
want
yeah.
4 legs, not 3 legs for sure. Minimum 4 legs.
Yeah.
Stability matters. Well, we created one vehicle that would go public. I wanted to list something on the NASDAQ that would allow people around the world to be able to just open the investment account, buy a share, and know that that company is investing in the Caribbean and having positive impact. Because there's no mutual fund, no exchange traded fund, or no company listed in the US, Canada, or UK to give people access, whether it's a diaspora or institutional investors. So we wanted to build a bridge, and everybody asked me to start with real estate. So real estate is in phase 1, and that's what Blue Mahoe Capital is.
Blue Mahoe Capital.
So that is now the company, the first US-based company in history to be qualified by the SEC to raise money from non-accredited investors, regular people, retail investors. Normally, you only raise money from accredited investors, the 1%. So we can raise money from non-accredited investors to invest in the Caribbean. Nobody has ever gotten that done. So we have a registered offering in the US. People can buy at $10 US a share, minimum $100, and then they're going to buy into that. And then we're going to list it on the NASDAQ, and we'll become the first listed company focused on the Caribbean, and only the 7th majority black-owned company listed on a major stock exchange in the US.
A big deal, man.
Yeah, well, we tried.
A big thing because, all right, so on the channel, we talked a lot about investments. I just now start change up to the podcast because I'm back in my learning phase. I get selfish now.
Yeah, man.
I want to learn from people now. I'm tired of teach. And a lot of diaspora people, and for those who don't know, people who live afar,
Yeah, man.
they generally ask for ETFs here locally. Is there something that I can buy so I can basically be introduced to the whole Jamaican
Right,
market?
get some broad exposure. 'Cause
Exactly.
You don't, the whole point of an ETF. So back in the day, you had mutual funds. Then we moved on. We have index funds, which are pegged to an index. So whatever the index have, if it's these 100 companies in this percentage, your index fund just follows that. So that's the most basic way to invest. An S&P 500 index fund, for example.
That's the biggest. That's one.
That's what everybody do.
Yeah.
Right. That's the simplest thing. But the next thing is that you can have an exchange traded fund, an ETF, and those can be specialized. I can have an ETF for Brazil or an ETF for all of Latin America. We have no ETF for the Caribbean. We have no ETF for Jamaica. We have no mutual funds for the Caribbean. None for Jamaica, even though Jamaica had the best performing stock exchange in the world for 5 years. So I tried to solve that problem. I tried to build an ETF for the Caribbean, and it can't be done in the US. We have a regulatory hurdle. It just can't happen. And so after a year and a half, we gave up doing that, and I went back to the original Berkshire Hathaway approach. We spent a lot of money with 5 different law firms to figure out how to pull this off, and we have finally pulled it off. And this is step 2 of a 4-step process. So we reserved a ticker symbol on NASDAQ, and that's IRI. And so when we do list, the ticker symbol is going to be IRI. Big up to NASDAQ for that. It doesn't mean that we have filed to list as yet. It doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to list, but we filed and reserve a ticker symbol. And then we went and filed what's called a regulation CF, regulation crowdfunding. So we can raise equity. We can sell shares to the public. So I can sell up to $5 million US. Any US person can invest. Then step 3 is going to be doing what's called a Regulation A offering. That's the next level, and then it's called a mini IPO. We just list on NASDAQ after that. So 4 steps to get listed, and we've already completed 2 of the 4.
Cool. So you said US persons can invest.
Yeah, US persons.
So me locally can't invest.
So yes, exactly. Well, you know what? So I want to clarify. Most people don't realize what U.S. persons mean for tax purposes. So U.S. persons, according to IRS, mean you have a social security number, you have an international tax number, ITN or TIN, or you have a EIN, an employee identification number. So you set up an LLC or a S corp or a C corp. So anybody can register a U.S. LLC.
We have an SSN.
Yeah. So but if you were a student in the U.S. and you have a SSN, you can invest. That's a U.S. person.
I got mine from when I used to do work and travel.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had gone over there at work or over to school, you count as a U.S. person, you can invest. But we've gotten a lot of people in Jamaica who are not U.S. persons. And I've had people from UK and Canada reach out as well, but I can't file over there. We did create a vehicle in Jamaica, Blue Mahoe Capital Appreciation Limited. I've been very quiet about it, so this is the first time we're going to talk about it. So we've created a local entity in Jamaica that owns shares at a 50% discount to the price we list on NASDAQ. And we're going to file here in Jamaica, the FSC, to allow us to take some money into that from local investors and then list that by introduction on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And that way you own a piece of the big company without having to go and open a foreign account. And that way you have liquidity down there. I care a lot about people having liquidity. I don't want them to call me and say, hey, Mr. Mullings, I love how the fund is doing. Because we're not a fund, but in their head, most people think fund. I love how it's doing, paying me dividends and things, but I need to exit because I want to go buy a property or I want to buy a car or go on a vacation or I'm a picnic going after college. can you liquidate or exit? Which is how it works with hedge funds. Private equity funds, you exit when they exit, but hedge funds you can close. I used to work at a hedge fund as well. And I don't like that. I want the person to be able to do whatever they want when they want. If they want to borrow against the shares, they can do that. They want to sell it, they do that. They want to buy more, they do that, and they don't ever need to call me. It's a publicly traded company. It has quarterly audited financials, an annual general meeting, and we don't just get rich because we're sitting on people's money and charging fees all the time. It's not 220 or 225 in Jamaica, which I don't agree with. Let us allow people to manage their money how they want, while we get to educate them at the same time. Here's what we invested in. Here's why we invested in this. Here's what we sold, and here's why we sold it. So at the same time, the same way Warren Buffett writes his annual letter to shareholders, and he does his AGM the same way. I get to do one in Jamaica because we have a Jamaican entity that's public, and I get to do one in the US because we have a US company that is public.
Yeah, I can't wait to see when that happens.
I'm not going to lie, it's going to be so much fun to go under those AGMs because people are going to spend 2-3 hours there asking me and my board questions about
that whole it's been a dream of mine. I don't know how much other nerds out here like me who love football, who love stocks, who love business, who love anime. But when I watch a Warren Buffett shareholder meeting and him put him coke on the table and him asking questions and him and Charlie up there and them are going with themselves. That's a vibe.
That's a vibe.
And it kind of buttoned down.
Yes, exactly.
It's not too...
Not too stuffed shirt and formal. And I think we need more of that. So I wanted that. I'm still looking for who my Charlie Munger is going to be, right? I've been nudging Mike about that one. Charlie was older than Warren. I think it would be great. We've done it before. We riff off each other. So you never know. Mike would have to be on our board for that time. But... I won't say anything else.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can reach out to him.
I won't say anything else. That's all I can say.
I'll take him come on the channel.
Say, Mike, come in.
Talk on the channel.
We would have fun with that.
So, serious meat of the matter now. You say Blue Mahoe Capital.
Yeah.
They are real estate focused.
Yeah, phase one is real estate. And then we will then roll into the other phases of then doing the same thing. That's public equity, private equity, and private credit. But start with we spent 2 years, we filed first before. 2 years ago, I filed and got the SEC thing qualified. Then we went to the market to raise some money. And when I would meet with people, I'm here trying to teach them about a modern portfolio. You want to have real estate as a piece. You need international equities, local equities, private credit. So I'm showing them how a portfolio would work. Why am I appreciate you teaching me so much about portfolio and investing? But I don't understand that. I don't understand how you make money in the public market. I don't understand how you make money in... in this, I definitely don't know what the hell is private credit. Can you just give me some real estate?
Yes, man.
And I never forget this one guy, I won't call him name, but 5 people had called me that week about Blue Mahoe. And it's a Friday, the 5th person called me. It's a Jamaican in New York who saw my interview on Bloomberg, and he saw it on Instagram. I say, hey man, I'm calling because I want to invest in real estate in Jamaica. Does Blue Mahoe offer real estate?
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, as a piece of what we're doing, you're going to buy into the company, you're going to get exposure to real estate. Man say, I don't understand them other things. I just want real estate. I say, okay, well, you can open an investment account in Jamaica and just buy any one of the REITs that's listed there, and that gives you exposure to real estate, and that's an easy way to start. It's a low minimum to open the account. I can introduce you to NCB Capital Markets. And then man say, all right, hold on, Mr. Mullings. Aren't you the person that went on Bloomberg TV and said how hard it is to open an investment account in Jamaica? 5 pieces of paperwork, letter, reference, this, birth certificate, everything basically. And I said, yes. And I'm saying, so you are telling me that I should go and open an investment account in Jamaica to invest in real estate, but aren't you the one that is supposed to make it so I don't have to do that?
Yeah, you're the gateway.
And I said, jeez, you're not wrong, you know. I said, fine, I will do a meeting tomorrow with some of my key investors, and I'm going to test the real estate thing. So we did the call this Saturday evening on Zoom. This is 7 p.m. And I mentioned to them, hey, this person called. We had 5 calls. I am considering really beefing up the real estate focus. Sunday morning, one of my investors messaged me and said, hey, I have 10 grand I want to invest on Monday. This is US. I have 10 grand I want to send you on Monday. And I said, okay, for what? He said, for real estate. I said, no. I said, I was thinking, I'm considering real estate. So yeah, I've been in real estate all my life. You're going to do it, and I want to be the first one in, so I want to deposit the 10 grand. I said, no, I can't do that. Even if we're going to do real estate, the entity hasn't been set up. I don't register the company. I don't have the paperwork for you to sign. I don't have the bank account to receive the money. I can't take it. I was like, well, can I send it to Blue Mahoe Holdings account and then just move it over when it's ready? Because I'm going to spend it if I don't give it to you. I was like, no, I can't do that. So many people came at us after that. So for the last 2 years, it's Adam Stewart that's meeting me. Adam said to me, David, sometimes you need to just focus and you give the customer what they want. And in so doing, you make them happy. Yeah, just give them what they want. So if they want real estate, and that's what they understand, give them real estate under the vehicle you already set up that allows them to not have to go down to Jamaica or Barbados or Bahamas or something. I was like, you know what? Let me do it your way for once. And from we do that, it has gotten much easier. And I had to ask somebody, why real estate? In my head, companies, when I invest in a company, that company can buy another company, it can launch another product, it can go into another country. I like that. But buy the real estate, I can't pick it up and move it from Jamaica to Cayman. I can't move it. And the person said, yeah, but at least I know where my money is. I can see it, feel it, touch it, and I can call my cousin to go check if it's real. There's a trust deficit when people want to invest into emerging markets. Jamaica is not unique. So real estate solves the trust issue. Even if you don't end up making the money that you're expected to make, hey guys, we're going to pool together, buy this property, and we're going to rent it out, and we think we're going to make this much money. What they said to me is that, say, God forbid COVID happen or lockdown again and it can't rent. But I know where the money is, though, for the next 3 years or next 5 years. It's hard to thief them. So we start with that. And then what somebody said to me is, I will write this check for $100,000 to invest in Blue Mahoe. So you go to real estate, deliver for me, pay me a dividend, and then I will follow you to the ends of the earth. I was like, okay, just deliver for the people.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm giving them what they want. I will deliver a return for them. Then I can show them the other stuff.
So it seems like it's not a Jamaican thing then, because it seems like the whole Caribbean does love house.
It's not even just the Caribbean. It is, you know what I'm going to say? Is every middle class and working class person that I've met. I don't meet rich people that think that way.
Why is that so?
Because, so the thing is that when you're rich already, you're not trying to build wealth via what you think. You already interact with rich people. So most wealthy people realize that people get wealthy by actually building a business or doing something of value. They make money, then they go into real estate to preserve the wealth. So wealth creation comes from creating something of value to sell to a lot of people. Then you take the money and put it in real estate to preserve it. It's rare that somebody, the majority of people on the Forbes, if you look at, didn't make the money in real estate. They went and bought real estate later. Most of us in middle class or working class households think that the most important thing is owning your home and make money from that. So I'm going to buy a principal residence, it's going to go up in value, and then later on I sell it, and that's the first thing I get to have as my thing. Nobody can kick me out, which is not true as we know. And then that's the first money we're going to make. And then you move from there. So households, yes, it can create wealth for you, but I would say the investment properties where the money is really created. It's not the principal residence. So there's this misunderstanding about how wealthy people actually invest. And we don't go and get financial literate. We don't read about that. So we decide that's the way to do it. So I want to own my own house. Then I want the real estate invested. And then we go watch all these. Now it's YouTube videos. Back in the day it was HD TV where you have flip house and it looked like it's easy. It's like, it's not that easy.
It's not.
Right? I want to have 1,000 houses or 1,000 apartments, renting them out, and this amount of money coming every month. Do you understand how much work that takes, right? We tend not to stop and think about the cost of being a landlord. I've seen my parents be landlords in the past. And,
boy, David, say that was almost reality for me.
Yeah.
So I was wound up or caught up in the dream of being a landlord. Let me say a landlord. And I saw this property at Portmore. It had a 2-bedroom upstairs. We have 2 single units downstairs. But the 2 single units, I would have to refurbish and get 2 different meter and everything. And I was so sold on it. Good price and everything. I saw where I could a little under break even.
Right.
A little under break even. And I said, I'm going to squeeze the trigger. And then one day I went there, rainfall, and I said, the front yard flooded. I said, easy fix that at the same time. But then I was saying, so what if I come home as the owner? Because I'm going to live there. House hacking.
House hacking.
I'm going to live there. And the tenant now I was say, Safir, man, front yard of the flat. I say, I don't want to leave from work and come up to more work. That's not my goal. So when I tell people, say, yes, I would love to have a primary residence. And then if I feel like I want to sell the house down the future, I sell it and buy another. But I'm not going to look at it like I'm an investment
work
that
on top
I'm
of
get
work.
Rich off. It's too much for me.
My first job was at Jamaica National. I've worked there 3 times now. So I used to design mortgage investment products and saving products for JN. And that changed the way I thought about mortgages and primary residence versus investment property. It totally changed the way I thought about things because I designed the stuff. I now understand how it works and understand where the traps can be as well. But my parents were real estate investors. Dad is a doctor, mom is a nurse. They built a pretty nice portfolio in the United States mainly. And I saw the ups and downs of that stuff. And I said, I don't ever want to do that stuff. I don't like going to Lowe's or Home Depot personally. I know my thing that. Right? I grew up watching Home Improvement. That was a great, funny show.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with that, all them things though. So having seen the pain that they go through and having worked in private equity and worked with a hedge fund, I was like, okay, there are easier ways, REITs, for example, to get exposure to real estate and not have to be the person that's managing that. And I don't think most of us have spent the time to understand where else can you invest the money, how can it work, what's the downside risk, we still have to manage that risk. And if you decide you like this, then great. You don't have to be a landlord, though. There are other ways to still make money from real estate. I do think real estate is an important part of every portfolio. And it tends to be the easiest thing that we can get into. Because people are saying, well, we can pool together, get a mortgage, buy the property, rent it out to somebody, and then start from there. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I just don't think you should try to have 100 doors under your thing. I think once you pass 10, you're going to be under a lot of pressure.
Unless you're Adam Stewart.
Yeah, well, no, you do. Yeah, no, that's a different kind of real estate.
That's a different type of real estate.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And so in Adam's case, you talk about keys, right? And the keys for each of those things. And at that level, when you do resorts, well, it's so interesting, right? In my MBA at University of Miami, there was a professor that talked about 3 types of companies you can invest in. And I never forgot it. Changed the way I thought about investing as well. And he said the first and the worst kind of business you can invest in is a business that makes, well, let me say a business that has goods that can be perished. So let me say perishable goods. So you get goods that have, it make perishable goods. So the company focuses on perishable goods. And we say, all right, example, let me say, well, imagine that you grow the mango. And then you try to sell the mangoes. You don't sell the mangoes. They spoil. You lose everything. Every dollar that they put into that, gone. He also includes hotel rooms and airline seats. That's perishable goods. So when the plane takes off, you can't sell that seat again. It's gone. When the night passes, you can't sell the hotel room again. Gone. So he considered that perishable goods. So to him, that was first and worst. That's the first time I ever heard. I was like, right. He said second best is durable goods. You come up with a design, you put it on a T-shirt, and then you sell the T-shirt. You're trying to sell it for $30. You can't sell it, you mark it down to 25, 20. Eventually, you can sell it for the $10 it costs you to make the T-shirt, and at least recoup the money, and then you can go back and make another one and try to sell that. Recouping your money, return off capital is more important than return on capital. That's the most important thing I've learned from the wealthy people I get to meet. But the third one, and the best kind of business, a business that does intellectual property. And I jump up and I say, oh, like Disney. And he says, no, Disney is even better than that. Disney creates Mickey Mouse, which is the intellectual property. So life of the creator plus 50 years, 70 years, depending on the country that you're in. So you're making IP right now. So you create Mickey Mouse as intellectual property. You put him on the T-shirt. That's a durable good. Then you turn around and create the cruise ships and the theme park and the hotels, perishable goods. And all 3 of them you're going to make money from. Disney is the best kind of company. And I said, oh my gosh, it's all about the experience and how you leverage that. So that got me first focusing on where's IP, intellectual property. We always talk about investing in property. Most of us think about physical property. We don't think about intellectual property. But it's the same thing. When I make a song, you rent my song to listen to it. When you stream it, you're renting the song. You buy the song when you want to the stream. You buy the DVD. Great, and I can sell it multiple times to people. To me, that is another type of real estate. It's property. And I want to get people to change the way they think about that.
So how now can people get exposure to real estate by investing in Blue Mahoe Capital? Like how is it done? Because since we're talking about real estate now, people are saying, boy, they want to kind of shoot down real estate in a way. So in my opinion, you have to decide first, right? The most important thing is identify someone who is living the type of life you want to live. Research how they did it, so that's your role model. And then if you like that, say, well, you know what? I'm going to study and learn how to do that. So if the person made their money doing single-family houses, then fine, you have a recipe, someone to learn from, go and execute that. But study first.
That's how I look at it. They can't just run on a football field and decide they're going to be a striker. You never kick a ball in their life.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out very well. And even when you're a top striker, every single shot you take not going to score. So you have to learn to go through the pain of failing and people laughing at you until you get really good. So it's going to take a little time. But have a coach to help you. That's the one, and you're going to train. So I think it's important that you find a coach. I doubt you're going to find someone who is doing single-family housing as their main thing to have gone. They might be doing fix and flips. Great. I think there's a huge opportunity there. And there are other people who have built portfolios of these kind of things. And then you have other people who just developed. They build and sell. There's nothing wrong with building and selling and then move to another one and build and sell again. Somebody has to do that. So in the case of Blue Mahoe Capital, we're doing two things. The first one is that we ourselves are building. We're partnering with existing builders. We are not a developer. We partner with developers and landowners to build housing in the Caribbean, starting in Jamaica. We have a very, very important focus on affordable housing as the main thing. It's not the only thing, but that's the main thing we want to deal with first. 70,000 people qualified for NHT in Jamaica. 150,000 houses are needed, and we're building less than 5,000 a year. So you have a massive market. What you would call your total addressable market is 150,000. But then you need to go down to what we call SAM and SAM. So serviceable, addressable market. How much real is there? 70,000 people qualified. And then you have SAM, serviceable, obtainable market. How much of the 70,000 I can really get? In our case, we're just trying to build 700 in Old Harbour, 109 in the Grill, 500 in Yalas. We'll just start with that. And then 315 Bernard Lodge. So I think less than 4,000, yeah, man, we can. Less than 3,000, we can do this. We should be able to pull that off, especially if we price them right.
Exactly.
Whether it's in the guaranteed buyer program or the prices so that people with 2 NHT or 1 can actually buy the property. So that's where you buy into Blue Mahoe. We build the houses, sell them, generate a profit, pay out dividends. That's the first thing we're doing. The second thing we're willing to consider is buying existing cash flowing property as if we're a REIT and that sits on our balance sheet. And we have to handle the management, whether it's us or we hire professional managers. They manage that property, it earns income, that flows up to the company, pays dividends to all of us. The last part is that we're also going to do some land banking. We're going to buy some land, hold on to it. My parents made more money from the raw land they held on to than all the houses they've ever invested. So I learned a lot more. I don't have no headache with tenants and I own land. I need to take care of it, but I'm not a tenant. In Jamaica, you do worry about the squatting thing. But we can manage that. So those are the 3 things we'll do. After that, we are creating a real estate fund here in Jamaica. So we're doing our own REIT that's going to give Caribbean investors access to U.S. real estate. So we had done a U.S. property fund 3 years ago, raised 110,000 US from some friends and family, and then invested in a cold storage deal in Miami. And that, wow. I mean, we paid out $65,000 plus their 110K back to the investors. So them love me after that and say, any real estate deal you have in Miami or anywhere, we are going to do it. So we want to do that and give local investors and pension funds access to quality real estate deals in the United States in places they know. So we have a deal that's related to the largest student housing provider to a Midwestern university. We have some other deals in the Southeast US, Atlanta, Central Florida, and so on. That we will package that, bring that to market in Jamaica, and then list that within the next 12 months. We expect to have that one listed.
That's so nice.
So we really want to help people get in there and then learn. It's not just about take them money, come in, jump in the REIT, let's explain why. We bring in some real estate experts that every quarter when we do the investor quarterly call on Zoom, we get to learn about here's what we're looking at, here's why we bought into this, here's the population dynamics, here's what's happening. My parents were the kind of people that we would jump in the car and drive from Pembroke Pines or drive from West Palm Beach to some random place. Oh, we're going to Sebring for the day. I'm like, whatever. Go to Lehigh Acres, Fort Myers. And they would just look and see. If they see a sign that say Walmart coming soon or McDonald's coming soon, them stop there and say, great, pull out a map, proper shell map. And we just get a little compass and draw a circle and say, this is a 30-mile radius. This is 30 miles within the Walmart or the McDonald's. Is there airport nearby? Great. And then just drive around and find some sign with some land for sale. And then just buy it up. Because I say Walmart and McDonald's don't do all the work to know what's happening over the next 30 years of population growth. We don't need to question it. Just buy something. And a lot of us think that we need the best possible thing. And what I've learned is that you can buy the worst property on a good road. The location is what matters. Yours can be the worst one in a good location.
Good location. cool. So I love that because a lot of people, when they think about real estate, they only think about house. But just me looking now and how I open up my mindset, I was warehouse, cold storage.
Cold storage is a big one. Wow. So a friend of mine, he gave us our first lawyer to really help us with this. So he's retired. His wife didn't like him being at home so much. So she said, go find something for good. He lives in New Jersey. So he then goes and opens a REIT. Creates a triple net lease REIT. So for those who don't know, you own the property, but then you lease it to somebody and they do everything. They're going to take care of the maintenance, fix it up, but it's like a 20-year lease. So this is universities, other people. $440 million worth of real estate him have under this property as his hobby. That's what he built under the REIT. And I remember talking about, I actually brought him to Jamaica. I brought up a pension fund from Jamaica to meet with them. We're sitting with Goldman Sachs. He's backed by Guggenheim Partners. And I said, what exactly are you buying with your triple net? I don't understand this. This is not my world. I'm not a real estate guy. I'm a hedge fund investor type guy. And he says, oh, well, we're buying non-Amazonable businesses. That's what we focus on. And I say, you need to explain that term to me. He's him inventing the term. And say, I don't want Amazon to be able to compete with me. I say, okay, explain the kinds of business. And say, discount auto parts. I said, okay, I can buy the auto parts on Amazon. And say, yeah, who go install them though? It's like, all right. So I'm saying, yeah, so the Tire Kingdoms and all the guys where you come and actually got a mechanic, he was buying those kinds of real estate. And then you're going to lease from him. When you have the big guys leasing. So he's a Midas break guys, those guys lease a property. Next one him say, Domino's Pizza. I say, yeah, we don't order that at Amazon. Yeah, I'm not going to make that. Him say, yeah, but they don't just make it there. They do the door, they have all this massive cold storage area, so they built that and then lease it to Domino's.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Him say, yeah, man, the hospital at the university, they don't need to put up all the money. We'll build it, and then we lease it to them for the next 10 years, and they have first rights to buy it. So it's the same idea with the sale and lease backs here in Jamaica. Properties that, if I have the headquarters or I have the location, I sit and why am I spending money as a business? I don't actually want to be a landlord as a business. My business is manufacturing something. Make somebody else build that and I'll just pay them rent. You can't kick me out though, I get first rights. And now in Jamaica we have special economic zones, and I don't think enough people are looking at the opportunity there. So we are looking to do a deal with the SEZ Authority, JSS, Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. Because yes, SEZs mean that you don't pay certain input taxes and so on. But if you manufacture something in Jamaica, for example, and then you sell it abroad, you can be zoned a SEZ. And then just one floor can be zoned, not just the whole building, just a floor. So all our call centers are SEZ because they're exporting the services.
Yes.
But the company that actually owns the real estate pays 0% corporate tax on all income derived from the building. So I could come in and partner with you and say, I will build a cold storage warehouse in Jamaica because you're going to be exporting mangoes to foreign. I'll build it for you to your specs, lease it to you for the next 10 years. You'll get first rights to buy the property. Why would anybody say no to that? It frees up the cash in the business to go and get the machinery, hire the staff, go into the marketing. I think that's a big opportunity that's being overlooked.
A big man, a big. That's something I don't think about. Yeah. But we tie it back into local man like me now, because one of the biggest questions young people ask in Jamaica, they must say, or one of the biggest situations that we look at now is the housing crisis. Like, first of all, house expensive. Second of all, the houses, we don't have enough in the area that we actually want
to live.
Because majority, not even someone want to live there, David. It's just that we just have to.
You have to cause of traffic and work and where the jobs are.
The jobs are in Kingston. The jobs are in Kingston, so we have to live in the old harbours. We have to live in the Spanish towns. We have to live Portmore. We have to live St. Thomas.
Well, now we can go east to St. Thomas side.
But we don't have much. We don't have the housing to sustain everybody.
The supply is a problem, as the Prime Minister said.
So is there actually a housing crisis?
There's a housing crisis globally. This is not unique to Jamaica. America has an affordable housing crisis, right? But that is also partly because of poor design when it comes to where the jobs are, as they say, and then how you get to and from those jobs. I see the traffic all the time on Mandela, coming in and going back out, right? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we have toll road and causeway, and it still is insane. That's a design problem. But also, why have we not put jobs in other urban centers, in the Maypens of this world, and the Savlamars of this world, right? It's Montego Bay and Kingston. And the government, in my opinion, is working on that. Let's see what happens next with Black River and elsewhere. But that's poor planning on our part, is what I would say. And private sector alone can't fix that. But the private sector also has to decide, hey, we don't need to put everything in Kingston. Kingston is a financial center of Jamaica, but there are other things that can be elsewhere. And so you can work with the government to say, all right, we're going to light manufacturing out in Bernard Lodge or Cayman as SEZ, and that's going to create jobs there. But also jobs tend to gravitate to where there's high-quality education, right? University towns, basically. So at NCU in Mandeville, we should see more jobs being created around that for what the people graduate doing, though. And that is the key.
Yeah.
Are we matching the skills trade into the jobs that are available or going to be available? When I look at, I bring up Costa Rica as a big example to people. Costa Rica is a case study that I did when I was in school. And it was insane to me that they went from banana chips to microchips. The literal land where they brought Intel to go and build a factory to build microchips used to be a banana plantation. And they would turn it into banana chips. And they gave all of these preferences to Intel and say, what else would you need to be able to bring it? And the guy said, we're going to have to design a custom 3-year program for people to go through at a technical university nearby and then graduate, and we'll give a job to every single person. So Intel designed it. And so everybody that came there now went through, get skilled, get training, and went straight into a job in the factory because Intel was there. Dell decided, well, if the chips are there, I might as well set up my factory right there and then take the chips, stick it in the computer, and then I can ship from there for Latin America. And so it created a cluster. That is what they did. Jamaica is doing a few different clusters, as we know out here. So let's see what happens. They're going to creative arts, so film, music. They're doing a cluster for that. And they have some other clusters that they want to focus on. And the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce has been pushing hard on that. They can do more to get more visibility. For locals, the diaspora certainly is getting all the proposals. Foreign investors are seeing all it. I don't think local people know as much about the locations that have been selected for where the government wants to push at to create those jobs. But the jobs is one thing. If I can get the job there, great. What else I can do when I'm not going to work, though? I need a little entertainment, man. I need stuff. Is there a green space? I can go walk, I can play ball, I can go to restaurants, have a little nightlife. Can't just be supermarket and like a pub around the corner. Yeah. So we are not thinking about holistic development, and that is where it have to change. I was in Cayman recently speaking at the Urban Land Institute conference there, and we got to tour Kamana Bay, is what they've built. Man, I want to pick that up and bring it here. I just want to pick it up and bring it here. Pick somewhere, just pick it up and drop it down, man.
You know, so I have a Cayman vlog, right? And when I went to Cayman, and I was so pissed because I said, oh, this could easily be Port Royal. And I said, this could easily be Port Royal with them pirate theme, because almost everywhere we go, you say Captain Morgan.
Yes.
That's their theme. And you say, come on, Abi. I say, yo, Cayman are just like the size of St. Elizabeth.
Yep. And when you see these other places, you realize opportunity for Jamaica. Yeah. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I love Singapore. There's opportunity from Singapore, from Costa Rica, from Cayman. I remember when I went, I had to go to Demetress and speak at an event, and I doing a little tour, a historic tour, and this is their downtown. It looked like Spanish Town. Right? This is Georgian architecture. Columbus did land here. And they had all these people that in nice clothes, branded with a badge that say, how can I help you? I'm a tour guide. You go up, I remember a little thing, I just pay them with my card, and then they carried us on a walking tour explaining all these different things. And all I could think about was if Spanish Town was safe, people would do that. They would not come there and walk around and do it. And if Port Royal was fixed up nicer, we would have paid money.
Could have been the Pirates. Disney could have come and put a big Pirates of the Caribbean.
So I love that you said that. So do you know that in the 80s, Disney did approach Jamaica to do a Disney theme park over at Port Royal, and the government of Jamaica turned it down? Because Disney wanted us to basically close off Palisades, and you'd pay the parking toll. You'd pay to enter the park to go over to it. But they were going to build housing for everybody, and they were going to hire all the people over there in Port Royal and build a Disney theme park based around Port Royal and Pirates of the Caribbean. We turned it down. I don't think you understand how Jamaica could have been different. You know?
I know how big that could have been.
Think about how the Pirates of the Caribbean film, the first one, they talk about Port Royal is in the movie.
Port Royal, exactly.
It was not shot here.
Yeah.
They must forget, I think it's St. Vincent, and they shoot in Bahamas. And then the ship that was used in the movie is now in the Bahamas. I cannot wait to go public and have money. I'm going to buy a used pirate ship from Upper Tampa.
Drop it out there.
So you're going to come and eat your food and you're on my ship, and we're going to have water cannons just firing, and people are going to love come out there.
They should have that theme because, all right, a couple of things I noticed. So I think the tourism sector in Jamaica could take a lot of work by creating identities for each parish.
Thank you.
Because when I went to Italy, and then almost every province in Italy, everybody has something
Something
unique
for them,
about them.
for them.
But if I go to like I'm in Jamaica now, almost every parish is the same, but the same town, the same supermarket, same Chinaman supermarkets are the same pharmacy.
They look the same.
Just looks the
Almost
same.
can't tell
and
the
it
difference.
has no uniqueness except you just see the dirt and no, so you're probably the Manchester.
And we have to play up our heritage tourism or gastro tourism, right? You go into Boston for go eat jerk, the home of jerk. You're going to come to Black River and learn about the slaves and the history with that. I can come to Portland and learn about the films that were shot there. I can go to St. Mary and this is where James Bond, all the books were written. I mean, there's so much we can add, right? Civil Heritage Park. There's so many things that exist across Jamaica, and we have simply not. First of all, I think we've depended too much on the government to do stuff. Private sector needs to step up and change our approach to tourism. And we can learn from Kingdom of Bhutan and what they've done, what Costa Rica has done with their ecotourism. There's so much more that we can do. Everything don't have to just be like Miami and South Beach.
Exactly. Just we're slowly losing our Caribbean aesthetic.
Thank you.
And we're just trying to look like North
MTV.
Americans.
Too much MTV.
Too much access to cable.
And that's not what they want. They already have that. They come in here for something different. They are watching how Stella got her groove back.
Yes, I want to get them groove.
Come get them groove on. That's literally a Jamaican thing. And what is going to differentiate Jamaica from St. Lucia? St. Lucia have a volcano. We don't have it. But what differentiates Jamaica from Bahamas? Yeah, we have river and mountain though, right? We have coffee. People hear about Blue Mountain coffee. How hard is it to come down here and tour a coffee? Man, I know people would pay money to pick coffee. You go over to Napa and you're tasting, you're doing wine tasting. How about I come here and do coffee tasting?
Come and do a couple wine tasting there in Italy and I say, yo, like this could have just easily been...
To us, it makes sense. I think once you travel, you just see opportunities, you come back, and if nobody do it, you have to just go make the money and then you go do it yourself. That's where I reach. That's where I reach. I'm tired of talking about it, I'm going to just do it.
A couple more years and I'm built and I see if I can make some real money from
real
YouTube.
I love you. We help you. We're going to help you.
And invest. So,
man.
So you say you're trying to inject now some life into the real estate market here.
Yes.
So you say you have something going on in Old Harbour?
Old Harbour was the first one we had announced, and now Negril is further ahead, so we've announced Negril. So 9 projects that we had under due diligence, 4 we've agreed to fund. So we started with the Old Harbour, and we have access to 50 acres in Old Harbour. So there was a project, they've done some 2-bedroom houses in 3 phases, women estates. One of our investors is connected to that group. So they came to us with land and said, hey, we have 50 acres. If you could do X, we could build these 1-bedroom houses. The first 200 would be $8 million Jamaican dollar price point. And we would do 700 total. So they said, would you be willing to partner to do that? I said, hell yes. So they showed us a 1-bedroom that is actually the sales office for the women estates. And then we get to tour the 2-1 and the 2-2s. We saw the construction approach that they use so they can keep the price down, but still have a house that's Cat 4, Cat 5. It's been through 2 earthquakes already. So we really appreciate that. 3 groundwater wells on site. They've done amazing work with women estates. And what else is there for them to expand? So we said, we'll sign on and be a partner on that and help to finance that. We then announced that. I go on Khalila Reynolds' show. We announced that. And then 287 people applied to buy the first 200 houses. So I'm like, oh, right. This is interesting. So word now got out that we are looking for affordable housing partners. We need land, we need developers. So when a developer approached us out on the grill that has 109 houses in a guaranteed purchase program with NHT, we could come in and be a partner for that. I said, yeah, man, I like that idea. They've already put up more of a chunk of their own money already. We would come in instead of going to a pension fund or borrow the money, take in an equity partner. So we're doing that one. The third one ended up being Bernard Lodge, one of my classmates from high school. His dad and him run a business out here that's doing that stuff and paving. And they were going after some property in Bernard Lodge because of what's going to be happening next. And so they acquired 2 lots there, going to be about 350 houses for that one, middle income. And we agreed to jump onto that. And we're working with them on that one. That's actually the furthest one out. They're doing all the subdivision and drawings now. And then the last person, my cousin works at NHT on mom's side. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I want you to meet this guy. I was in charge of this NHT project. There's land near to it. And him have 188 acres for the first phase, looking for a partner. Are you interested? And we went out there with mom and dad, and mom done pick out her lot. So yeah, man, this is my lot with this view right here. So this is in Yalas, right up the road from the police station. So it's called Montpellier Estates. I'm going out there tomorrow to see how much further they've gone, but we're going to jump on, and that's 500 lots, 500 two-bedroom houses, and it's squarely aimed to be affordable houses. And we're really excited about putting our money where our mouth is and having a diaspora for the first time ever to pool the money and fund affordable housing in Jamaica. This is not for the diaspora to buy. I've had people offer, we'll give 50,000 right now and buy one. I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. It's not for you. It's for local Jamaicans, our nurses, our teachers, our young workers, for them to be able to own their own house close to where they need to work, where they want to be for once. And it's not that somebody can come and buy 5 and go rent it out or flip it in 3 years. We're trying to allow people to actually get their house. And it's a starter house in most cases, but it's just a starting need.
I'm glad to say that, because a lot of people are what we're seeing happening in Jamaica now is that diaspora have cash, and most of us don't have that. We could have the same position.
Yeah.
I work at a power plant, and somebody overseas work at a power plant.
Them get paid 3 times a month.
They're getting
just because of the difference.
I can't compete with that. Yeah. So when you have developments now that, as I said, now going to put us first, that better.
Yeah.
And then now maybe the prices would be lower.
Yes, that's the whole idea.
So you're not a developer. We get
right,
that.
but we talk to a lot of developers.
Why the price them so high? Why are these developments
So we're going to go back to
high?
Econ 101 class, right? Supply and demand. So let's start with this. Jamaica is an island, which means we don't have any more land. We can't get any more land. But we have a growing population. So that means we're going to have increased demand with no increase in supply. If you pick up a house from Jamaica and move it to Cayman, it's worth 5 times as much automatically because they have a supply problem. It's just smaller. So it starts with that. We don't have any more land, and we have more people going to be looking for a place to live. So we start with that problem. And then we are not supplying enough houses at that price point. And so you need to talk to developers. Why don't you build more houses at the $10 million to $20 million range, knowing that it's not a technology problem? Technology exists for you to go and do prefab, concrete, block and steel and make this work. Why don't you do it? And they would say they would rather the same amount of time, the same amount of work, them could have built one house that's going to be 3 times as big and make 3 times as much money as doing all these little ones. And that's what it is. For them, it's just a matter of return on time more than just return on investment. It's simpler, and then they can go build that. We aren't here for that margin. It's like talking to Amazon or Walmart. They are not focused on making the most amount of margin from everything they sell. They want to sell a whole heap of stuff and make a little bit of money off each one. That's how affordable housing works. In our case, we are not a developer, so I don't need to make all my money from every single house I sell. I can make money from investing in public companies and other things as well. This is one piece. So I can afford to take a smaller margin from each of the houses that we build. It's not our primary business.
All right, that makes sense, man. So here's a one piece of my mind, so automatically go to the anime. Automatically go to the anime, but
hey, me's an anime man, you know,
so affordable homes and building them, you say at the 7 to 10 million price range. That would be ideal.
Yeah,
that would be very much ideal. But at the same time, Jamaica has the income problem. So even for some, that is still relatively expensive. So what would you tell a person like that? Like pointers, tips, or the hard truth? Like
well, the hard truth is this, right? Owning a house is not a right. Owning a house is a privilege. Housing is a right. There's a difference between that. Singapore has made sure that their people are housed. Jamaica has NHT. We need to do better and closer to more along the lines of what Singapore does to give people at least a start. So housing is a right. Owning a house is privilege. You have to earn that privilege. So if you don't earn enough money to have that privilege, that's fine. But first of all, don't judge yourselves based on owning. I don't own a house. Let me be very clear. I don't own my primary residence.
Yeah.
I don't. Right? My net worth does not include my primary residence when the SEC is looking at if I'm an accredited investor. It does not include. You're a millionaire, not including your primary residence. Or you're earning X amount of money. They don't care about my primary residence. That's a roof over my head. So the first thing is I want people to disabuse themselves of the thing that they must own a house.
Yeah.
understand the true carrying costs of owning a property. And then you need to run the numbers and look at the pros and cons of owning versus renting. Right now in most cities in the United States, it is cheaper to rent than to own. So the cost to rent the same property is lower than if you were the owner of that property. When you add in property taxes, the mortgage, if you have PMI, so in our case, right, this is insurance, you never know where it can go. HOA up there, things can go crazy. So don't assume that owning is always better. I don't care what your parents or your grandparents tell you. Owning is not always better. Sometimes it's better to rent. You have a fixed cost. When the AC broke out, you just call the landlord and say, oh, the thing flood, fix that. And you take the difference and put that into an investment. That's going to grow. Whether it's another real estate investment, that's going to be property, that's earning money, or you put it into the market and just leave it, let it grow over time. Or dollar cost average and you invest every month. The money you save every month by not paying interest on a mortgage, you put that into a S&P 500 fund. Or you buy Blue Mahoe stock. And obviously I agree to that. Right? Yeah, we feel that's fairly straightforward and safe. And it's a good impact investment as well. We're helping people. But that's the first thing. You have to change the way you think about money. There are two books that I really like because they help me to better understand where my beliefs about money came from and which ones I needed to change. So Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. I recommend that book to everybody. Yeah, man. And then Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Have that on the bookshelf.
Yeah, man. Those two, for me, it changed so much, and I give it to so many friends. So that's what I'd say. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to read those two books, or you're going to go in ChatGPT, ask for a summary, or watch a YouTube summary, but you're going to now get that and change the way you think about money and the way you think about wealth and investing. Then you're going to find a role model, and now you're going to execute what they're going to do. Ideally, what you want to do is live within your means while increasing your means. I don't want you to stay down here. Live within here, but then you're going to grow it, which means you're going to invest in yourself. That's the most important thing. If they're watching this podcast, they're investing in themselves right now. So invest in yourself. Read, get smarter, learn from people. I learned from Michael Leachin before I ever met him. I learned from Warren Buffett. I still don't meet him. I learned from Richard Branson. When I really meet Richard, I say hi one time. That's it. You can learn from other people. And thanks to TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, we can learn even more without ever leaving Jamaica or wherever we are watching this. So learn, get smart, then start to earn. And then you can decide if you want to buy something or where you want to buy it. Yeah. And is it that you're going to live in it or you're going to rent it to somebody else and make money? No problem. But don't think that you're going to be stuck there. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody had to start somewhere. And I have to start by not beating up yourself. Don't think you're late. There's so many people I meet that I'm 45 and I don't own a property. That's the one I live in. I've owned investment properties. I've bought and sold real estate, and so I've owned property. But I don't own any right now. That's fine. I don't own a car right now. I don't care. Right? I get to manage my costs. I get to decide what costs I have every month when it comes to transportation. That's it. If I had the car, no matter for the next 5 years I have a car payment.
Yeah.
Insurance. The car parked most of the time. And I was like, why am I spending this money on the car when I'm not here traveling too much? Bye.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Take the money and go put it in. And I went and bought stocks instead. Right? And then I'll sell the stocks and then help Blue Mahoe with that money. Don't judge yourself based on somebody else. Don't look at your timeline thinking, man, I'm late, I'm behind, because you're looking at what's especially Instagram. Some people are not what they post to be. I think it's too easy in this day and age to trick people. We grew up with, you're still younger than me. Lifestyles of the rich and the famous in the 80s, Robin Leach. In my opinion, that's the way that social media is presented now, and it's not true. They're not living like that. I know right now there's a building in Miami, and there's some guys that in there. 5 of them share one Lamborghini Aventador and share the car note payment. Every month them have to pay it together, and their roommates living in a really nice building, and all of them shooting content separately with the car.
Smokes and mirrors.
All smoke and mirror, and that's to me is sad. That's ridiculous to me, and we have to realize it's not true.
Smart for them, but for their customers,
for the people that they're supposed to be influencing him, and you're selling a dream which is actually not true, and you're going to get people in trouble. So don't believe everything that you see online. Go read some of these books. Meet people who have actually done it. And they're going to have a lot of scars and a lot of stories and say, you know what, don't make this mistake, don't make this mistake. I did this here. Here's a document you can use as a template. Here's a person you can talk to. Here's a lawyer. Here's a this. Pull together with 5 people, set up your LLC in this place, do this. Trust me. And don't do it by yourself. Find somebody you can trust. Probably not going to be a family member, to be honest.
Yeah.
But find a small group of you, 5 of you, scrape together some money and then make that investment in the real estate. One of you is appointed to actually be in charge of managing the documents and things. Whoever is the most responsible. But pull the money together. That's what I see Chinese people do.
All the time.
That's what I see Jewish people do.
All the time.
Black people don't do that.
Because we just want to do it ourselves. We just want to be independent.
We literally want to be independent. What I remember saying to that, man, this crab in a barrel mentality. I don't understand some Jamaicans fighting me out for what I'm doing. And Dad said, think about what you just said. Are crabs naturally in a barrel? I said, no. And he said, okay, so somebody had to put them there. I said, exactly. He said, well, when you realize that, you're going to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Realize that you are not in a barrel and you don't have to behave like that. No, you'll be willing to help other people. It don't cost me anything for me to share this information with anybody else. You succeeding don't affect my life. I will still succeed. And the visual that Dad talked about was a candle. He said, if you have a candle and I light the next candle, does my light go out? No, I just light the candle.
Yeah.
So every time I pay it forward, I'm lighting other people's candles. And if more of us think that way, I think we, as black and brown people, would do so much better. Let me light somebody else's candle. Or is that a bad thing?
Not at all.
Yeah.
So this podcast, the name that I'm deciding to go with, it's called What's the Cost?
Ooh.
And the cost isn't just money.
Never. That's the lowest cost.
That's the lowest cost. This is, and since I'm on the path of learning, so I'm talking to economists, business owners, movers and shakers, just different leaders, creators, whoever I deem interesting.
Right.
What did it cost you in all essence of the word, mentally, physical, emotionally, relationship-wise, financially, to get your dream going?
So there's a book by Stephen Schwarzman who co-founded Blackstone called What It Takes. I love that you're bringing that up. And it's a really good book. Most people, I really get serious because I really want to. So first, I'll show you what it costs. So each of these is the staples.
Yeah, man, I see it, man.
Right, so these are the staples from the 67 metal staples that went down. So this was I had a tumor, my appendix and my colon, and the thing is all from stress. I ended up having a tumor, and I had to remove my entire right colon and the appendix. So rushed to hospital, we think it's appendicitis. I lost 20 pounds in 10 days after they did the surgery. 2 weeks in bed, 6 weeks recovery, and then quarterly visits to an oncologist. Thankfully, it was benign, not malignant, so I didn't need to do chemotherapy or radiation therapy. But I am a cancer survivor, and it's cost me my entire right colon and my appendix. So that's one thing that it really cost me. It scared the hell out of my family, my wife, my kids, my parents. I'm a doctor and a nurse, obviously understood more about what was happening, and I have to be a little bit more careful about diet and certain things. I go to an oncologist once a year now, just for regular checkups. So that was a big cost, and that was stress from things not going right. People sign paperwork, commit to give you money by this date, and then flake out or back out of things. That happens as an entrepreneur. So from a mental health standpoint, I'd say 2 massive bouts of depression where I just went and played video games. And that's if I play too much, we know such things not going right. My wife know Mom will show up, open the windows and say, no, this not gonna happen. So Mom doesn't like me when I said the term depression because I wasn't clinically diagnosed. But hey, we know what depression is.
That's what you were feeling.
That's how I felt. I felt very down. The world was against me. I mean, we've had 6 entities fail that are shut down, and I've lost money. The first business, the first investment firm I started. So I was worked at JN 3 times, consulted with Victoria Mutual, and then went up. I launched JN Live. So I was in charge of their internet banking platform, digital marketing, did digital marketing with a mutual fund company in the US. So that taught me how to reach retail investors to invest in funds, mutual funds and ETFs. And then I worked with my cousin's private equity firm in Orlando, lower middle market private equity. Those are smaller companies. And I was studying Buffett at the same time. He had me read every single letter to shareholders that Buffett has written since like 1964. And I had to discuss them with him. Every book that his mentors gave him, I had to read them every 3 months, meet with him in Orlando, and then go over those books and discuss them in the order he got the books. Right? He went to Harvard. I get to learn all this stuff. I did my MBA at University of Miami. So I end up working with his company, and then he says, hey, this is on a Wednesday. What would you do with $100,000 if I gave you $100,000 to go to something? I was like, you know what, let me call my brother Robert, and I'll come back to you Monday. Give me the weekend to come up with a plan. Came back the Monday, and I said, here's what I would do. And the man said, wow, I really like that. And then he pulled out his phone and wired me $50,000 and said, here's the first 50. You now work for yourself as of today. You're going to stay in this office, and you're going to learn everything that I do, how I do it, and then you're going to launch yours as a smaller version of mine. And make sure you get your brother involved, put together a board of directors, you and me on it, and then 3 other people. So it's a 5. His brother hears, and his brother puts in 25K. A friend of his puts in 25, and then he does 75. So I raise 125K within 45 days. Go after a target. We're going to acquire a business in this industry that we understand. We had a company back in the day called Real Vibes. It was a website. Random Media was the first company ever launched, September 2001. Random Media had Real Vibes. It grew to become the largest website in the world for Caribbean music videos. We became YouTube's first Caribbean media partner in 2008. Sponsored Reggae Sumfest. We on tour with Sean Paul and T.O.K. We in studio with Vibes Cartel and Wayne Marshall, Assassin, T.O.K., all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? When Pon the River, Pon the Bank, right? I'm in the studio recording that on video. Don Carleone have the video. And so I know entertainment and technology. So we decided we're going to buy a mobile app development company that's going to make apps for people. Signed a deal. I raised $770,000 US between Jamaica, Barbados, and the United States. Some of my own family money, put all my money in there, buy the company, and within 6 months we get sued. Because some companies say, well, we were a client, we paid this amount of money, $200,000, we haven't seen any work, any code. And we say, no, but we did due diligence for 90 days, your name has never shown up. We had bought the business, kept the CEO on, and he kept 20%. The man had deleted every single email related to that company. So we had to do a forensic audit, call a lawyer now, and then have to sue. Nothing is recoverable. We take back the company, and so we lost $770,000 US cash that we paid. We had to pay lawyers, buy the business, all of that. That's so much, and that was the first one. That's the first investment firm that went and bought some. All those investors rolled over into what eventually became Blue Mahoe, and they're quite happy where they are. They're very happy, actually, with what has now turned out with this one that's going to go public. But this is not even the first version of Blue Mahoe. This is the 5th version of what they're doing. And what I want people to think about is WD-40. WD-40 is known because of that, because it's water displacement 40th formula. He failed 39 times. That's why it's WD-40, not WD-1, not WD-10. 40. How many of us would have family and friends who support us through 39 failures? Most people don't have nobody. They're going to lose everybody. Their wife going to left them.
Even one time.
Them parents. Yeah, most of us think that the first time you shoot, you're going to score. If you play sports, you know that's not true. But out of 10 shots, probably going to score 1 though, if I have any sense.
Yeah.
But 39 failures. Well, I'm not going to take 39 shots at pulling this off. And that's the first one. 770,000 we lose on that. With Real Vibes, we never made a profit with Real Vibes. So call that 40,000 US per year that we put into that, spending on equipment, travel, that gone. And that's 5 years. So let's just write that off as another 200K of learning. Essentially, I paid for another MBA. Right? It was great. I learned how to raise money from VCs, how to pitch, how to strike a deal with YouTube and negotiate with Google. I mean, we made some really good contacts. So keep chalking that up, right? The first version of Blue Mahoe raised 15 grand from mom, dad, myself, my brother, and 2 friends, invest in the local market. That went well. Then now we need to scale it up. Now we understand how hard or how easy it is to open the investment firm in the US, open an account in Jamaica, wire it down, convert, buy the stuff, sit on the portfolio, get dividends. Let's test it, and then we're going to scale it. Well, guess what? We turn around and go raise some money. We raised 250,000 US from friends and family, gone after the thing, and then one person decides, said them not like what I do. They think I can do what I do, and so them basically kick me out of the company. Tried to kick me out at least. I was like, no, but I own the parent one that have the name Blue Mahoe, so you have to change that. But you can have that, and I'll keep my 45%. I gave up enough equity that 2 people could vote against me, and they voted against me to kick me out. I said, you can have it. And I will keep my Blue Mahoe Holdings vehicle, and you can pay me a license for the name, or you change the name. So they changed the name, and they were out of the picture. I have to start over again. So I'll go back and create a new one. All the investors that gave me the 250, they come into it, went and raised 1.1 million after that. And we brought that in, and then we got to work. We paid the law firm. We hired the investment bank. We get ready. We filed SEC, and then COVID hit. Everything stopped when COVID hit. That was March 2020. I was on Bloomberg in January 2020 talking about Jamaica and thinking about Singapore, the Western Hemisphere, why you would invest in the Caribbean, and we are getting ready with an investment bank to file to go public. COVID hit, and the world shut down. We don't know what is going to happen. So you can imagine at that point, geez, how much money we just take from these people. We're putting it to work. Markets are frozen. The world is going to hell in a handbasket. We can't lose this, so we're going to have to keep going again. So we didn't lose any of that money, but we've had to deploy it. I mean, we've spent, to this point, $370,000 on just lawyers with 5 law firms to figure out how to pull this off. We spent a year and a half looking at doing an ETF. That costs money, right? To pay lawyers. Lawyers don't work for free. They're not taking shares. Just certain things cost money. And we had to pay for audits. So every time, right? This offering that we just did cost us $55,000 total between legal, audit, and paying the platform to get this done. I can do it cheaper now because I've learned even more. But it's a real expense for us to go public. Just for me to apply to NASDAQ, it's going to cost me $55,000 non-refundable to apply to list on NASDAQ. I have to do what's called a PCAOB audit. The minimum quote that I've gotten is $100,000 for the audit. So I need $155K to spend just to apply. Notice I didn't say anything about paying the securities law firm to write our offering statement, to file to go public. And that's another $75,000 bill. And people don't understand what it takes to go that level or to do it properly. We had to pay our law firm to file a trademark. I want to trademark Blue Mahoe Capital. I'm not crazy, so we had to pay for that. That's how it go.
Boy, I always say, entrepreneurship
is hard. And what I was taught, honestly, is that you have a 99% chance of failing with a startup. It is far better to find a profitable existing business, you understand, to buy it. It's much easier to actually say, you know what? I want to buy that, and you raise the money from a group of people to go buy something because you can show, here are the customers, here's the revenue, here's the profit margin, here's each of the jobs, what them do. And in fact, we have a lot of baby boomers whose kids do not want to take over the business. So it's easier for you to go in and buy it. So what I would recommend to everybody is called a search fund. You can Google it. And I have all the templates of how to create a search fund to buy one business. Search. I'm going to search for a business to buy. So typically you get the money, you have 2 years to find a business to go and buy. And you're going to start hunting and knocking on doors and say, hey, I'm looking to buy a business, minimum revenue of this number, profit margin of this.
Possible here, even in Jamaica?
100% possible in Jamaica.
Because I know it's a thing overseas.
Here's why I will tell you it's even more possible in Jamaica than the United States. The Caribbean, any emerging market. If your family has made money in the business, in most cases, the family probably came from nothing. They now go and create this business, making money. They now educate the children to a level that the parents were never at. So the children gone off to medical school, engineering school, whatever, and live abroad and now come back. Or down here and up this and the business is going to die. So the baby boomer wants to sell the business somewhere because that is their retirement. That's their liquidity. The kids, in most cases, do not want to take over the business.
Yeah, DJ is singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking.
But that's the idea. So it is even better, right? Think about, we keep talking about diaspora. So who is still here though? If 70% or more of Jamaicans who are tertiary educated are leaving every year, who is staying? It's the older generation that's still here.
Yeah.
Because them have them business, them not leave. So then who taking over the business with the children not coming back? The children gone to Atlanta, New York, and Toronto, and London. Go to them and offer to buy the business and say, over the next 3 years, I'm going to pay you for the business. Here's 20% down. I'm going to pay you X% per month. I do a revenue share, and then I can find some other money to buy it. Search funds. It's easy to go and figure out how to do it, and I think it applies right here, right now. And it don't have to be fancy businesses, right? If we have a real estate boom in Jamaica, them just need to even pick up the rubble. Every single piece of real estate need lawn for cut.
True.
And we could just be a little bit better with our branding and a little bit better with our customer service. You don't even have to be that much better in Jamaica.
I read Cody Sanchez.
Cody Sanchez, Main Street Millionaire.
I read that book. And
that's exactly what I was doing in private equity. We were doing that stuff.
I want to do that here so bad.
It can work.
I don't know if it's fear holding me back, but...
It's always fear. The only thing that ever holds us back from doing something is fear, and we have to decide fear of what. Is it fear of failure? Is it fear of somebody laughing at us? Is it fear of somebody saying, why you do that when you didn't have this degree? And in most cases, it's one of those three things why we are afraid to go and do it. But when you end up, I'm 45 now, 39 years old, when you end up in a hospital bed and you're told that you may not live the night, and you wake up the next morning, all you could have thought about it was what I didn't do in my life. If I survive, nobody now stop me again. I'm not afraid. I'm going dead anyway, and I never want to lie down on a hospital bed ever again, thinking, what if? Never. That's why nobody can get me to go and not do something. Like, why? I mean, afraid. Trust me, I've been there where I had so many regrets, and it was all me. It was all in my head. Nobody was thinking about it. Nobody cared. They might say something one time. That's it. It don't matter. If that person isn't in my life actively trying to help me, I don't care what they think. They have their own problems, and they're actually not thinking about it that much. They might say something once in a while on social media. It don't matter. They have their own problems. They're worrying about their own life. So don't worry about what anybody going to say. Go do it. Oh, geez, we never talk about the personal side, what else it costs in terms of relationship.
Because it's a lot.
Oh, well, I'm the hardest person that anybody could be married to or be with. I think it's hard to be married to entrepreneurs. That's the first thing, right? But I was a guy that finished fifth form at 15 and put together a 15-year life plan, broke into blocks of 5 years, 15 to 30, knowing what I'm going to do after 50. Nobody can change 15 to 30. They can't change after 50. And whoever I get married to is going to help me write the plan from 30 to 50. 20-year plan. It won't be as strict as the first 15 years, but you can change it. So I have a very clear vision of what my life is going to be like, the kind of person that would be additive to my life, right? The person you're with is either going to be the wind beneath your wings or the anchor that pull you down. So you need to be very careful. So I end up, look at nerd, I'm 16. It's my second year in college. I started at 15. So at 16, I'm at a Phi Theta Kappa event. So PTK is honor society for 2 years. Beta Kappa is 4-year society. So I got to this thing in Nashville. My brother is with me. And I'm bored out of my mind with these fellow nerds. But I guess I don't play sports. Just not my kind of nerds. You know how that go. So I leave and I go outside and there's this old white guy sitting in the chair watching the door. And I say, hey, why you leave? I say, I'm bored, man. I'm bored. This is. I say, all right, come over here, young whippersnapper. Whatever. Walk over to the guy, sit down, and say, hey, let me give you some life advice. All right, what? Say, my best friend always talked about the fact that he was going to be wealthy. He was going to be a millionaire. I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. How did it work out? He said, well, here's what my friend said. He always said that he was only going to date rich girls. And eventually he's married one of them. And I was like, man, that's shallow. He's like, yeah, that's what I told him. But he told me no. He said, do you date ugly girls? The man said, no. He said, well, that's shallow. He said, no, it's not the same thing. Do you date fat girls? No, that's shallow. He said, no, it's the same thing. You need to decide what you want and then only date within that group. And then eventually you're going to find one who loves you and you love her. That's it. Start with that. So I'm only going to date the rich girls. I was like, wow. All right, how'd that work out for him? He said, well, he became a multimillionaire, inherited the father's company, and they have 4 children, happily married for 27 years so far. I was like, wow, okay then, what happened to you? He's like, well, I didn't believe in that. I just dated who I want, got married. I haven't seen my children for the last 15 years. I've been divorced 20 years. I was like, okay, what is the moral of the story then? And the man said, really simple. You need to have a clear list of need-to-haves and nice-to-haves. And you cannot get all the nice-to-haves, but you need to get the need-to-haves. But actually grade them. Think about it. You're looking for these qualities in the person. Yeah. And I am such a nerd. I go home and I buy a book, an exercise book. And I go and draw out the thing and say, here are the things I feel I need to have with this person. She needs to be Jamaican, raised in Jamaica, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to explain what arms house mean or where halfway trees or why we love watch Silverhawks and Thundercats and them. I just don't have to explain them things, right? So I was very clear. And then here's the nice to haves. And then every girl I'd date, I'd grade them, I'd score them. I'd talk, I wouldn't even date. 4 girls, I'd talk to 4 girls, cut 2. I'd grade them and then cut 2 of them and then go back to 2 and go back and then just keep cutting them until I got down to 2 and then get serious and end up marrying one of them. So that was what I did. So that starting that way is already rough. Yeah. You've been graded and you get to this point. But she plays Zelda, she plays video games, she do art, she helped me with the business. But it has not been perfect. It's ups and downs. 19 years now, this year, this is 2026, and it has never been a smooth road. There are years where it was great, especially before we had kids. Once you have children, stability is a big thing to women. We guys, we are used to going out there and killing things, man. We love that. They're going to mother mode at that point.
Certain amount of risk and minimalism.
What is risk? Men, I feel like men's brains aren't developed to understand risk. We don't know what risk is. No, man. So that has been every now and then the head butting and the stress and where we're going, where you're moving, or you're traveling so much because you're building the business, you're not present, the kids. So I've had to pay the price of time with my children, and I've had to explain to them and then make time. I can't make up for it. I thought I was making money to then buy things and take them to places that they would enjoy. My parents took me some of those things. I got some of those things, some I didn't get. I want to give them the next step of that life. And I remember Chris Williams was talking to me one December, and he said, yo, D, you have to remember, your presence matters more than your presence. When I was talking about what I should get for Christmas, I'm saying you need to go back home. You're there in Jamaica, hang out at Uncork, drink with me. You need to get back to Florida and go to your family. The kids want you there. They don't care about the other stuff. It's just you them want. You could have buy one little Lego thing and you build it with them. They'll remember building the Lego. And a lot of us have seen it where the children playing with the box and the wrapping paper more than the thing that we bought. They just want us to be there. And so that was a hard lesson for me because I remember Dad sat me down and said, he did this with Real Vibes, they're doing it with Blue Mahoe again. When I build in, I go into building mode. I become a hermit. I am Batman in his cave and I don't want to hear from nobody. When I show up later, yeah, he's here. But no, I tune out everybody. And that's what I'm doing because I'm focused. And in my opinion, most people don't know how to focus. I block out the world of focus. I get it done. Then I can come up for air. What Dad said is that I'm dropping the various balls of my life. And I say, yeah. But then I break it. He's like, no, they're glass. I say, no, I don't drop them. That I'm purposely putting them on a shelf in a nice little velvet bag and I'll come back later. I'm saying, yeah, but those balls will never be the same. You have to learn to juggle them. And I was never good at juggling. So I've now had to learn to juggle. So I've had to remove myself from certain boards, say no to certain meetings, say no to certain speaking engagements. And the people who most wanted my time and should get my time, my wife, my kids, my parents, my brother, they weren't getting my time. So I now have to make up for that. In this second, I'm 45. So in my opinion, this is midlife crisis. This is halfway through my life. It actually was worse than that. I'm 39, and when the man, as Dr. Tully, is you, the man said, "You're 39." I said, "Yes." He said, "Man, half your life gone." I was like, "What? Hold on, hold on, whoa." Before we go to the surgery, the man said, "I don't care if you believe in God or not. You kneel down and pray before I did the surgery." You don't understand how scared I am. Half your life gone. I was like, no, hold on, I'm only 39. And he said, okay, what's the average life expectancy of a male in America? I was like, man, 74 or something like that? 76. Man's like, okay, what's 2 times 39? Oh, jeez, what? I literally had just sat there, I was like, oh, crap. Half my life really gone. So for the second half of my life, I cannot make the same mistakes I made in the first half. Mainly around the friends, the family, the people who you really care about. And especially because they nearly lost me. So yeah, that's the price that I've had to pay.
Your second life started.
Second life started. It started for me when I got out of that hospital. And I've been living it I remember I kneeled down, I remember I kneeled down, praying and talking about the kids. And my wife and my brother and mom and dad. And I said, God, if you let me survive this surgery tonight and get out of this hospital, I'm going to pay it forward for sure. Everything anybody share me. But the single most important thing is that I am not going to live the second half of my life like I did the first half. Even though I had so much positive impact, I spoke with so many people, I was on so many interviews, I'm not living the second half the same way. I'm going to go all out with supporting people, but I'm going to make sure the family gets the time that they deserve, and we're going to have the adventures and take the risk because I don't want to say what if again. Second life. Literally, that's how I feel.
That's true.
That's why I went back and started playing football again. And then I go back and start swimming again, in like competitive swimming. Because why not?
Why not?
Why not?
It makes sense. I'm reading this book by Sahil Bloom, 5 Types of
Love
Wealth.
Sahil, yeah, man.
So he mentions time, spirit, physical, mental, what's the other one?
Financial, health, yeah.
And I said I want to start a whole series living that book.
Yeah.
I always take it up and then I put it back down because it's a big commitment to say, all right, this is where I changed my life.
Yeah.
And generally people change their life when something dramatic happens.
Exactly. You lose a parent, you lose a child, you lose your partner, you nearly lose yourself.
Exactly.
But I don't know why our human brains work that way, but I think that's what it takes. It takes a traumatic experience to get you to first pause and assess your life. And then look in the mirror, man in the mirror moment, and say, man, do I like the life that I have? And you have to wake up one day and just look in and say, do I really like the life I have? Is this how I want to live my life? Is this what every day is supposed to be like? Is this what my weekends are like? Is this the work that moves me? No. I mean, usually it's midlife is when it happens because we have enough time now and experience to reflect on, why am I doing this? Oh, I'm a lawyer because mommy and daddy did push me to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. Go back and do what I want to do and be a chef or whatever. When you no longer worry about what they think, what everybody thinks is when you find yourself. I knew myself from when I was 15, thankfully. I just in my opinion, I held back, which is a crazy part. And I have so many friends. Next door, they was, well, I'm going to look up to you now. I was like, wow, I looked up to you when you were a teenager. So to a lot of people, I'm an overachiever. Yes, I went to college at 15. I graduated at 19. I come back and play football real more. And I got to an MBA. I finished at 22 with an MBA. And then all these other things have happened since. And to me, I'm an underachiever based on the plan that I've written. And I remember Dad had to sit me down and say, yeah, you know, that sounds crazy, you know. The only reason you judge yourself so harsh is because you know how the story is supposed to go in your head. Nobody know the story. In fact, they don't care about the story. What they care about is, can they learn anything from you? Have you been a positive inspiration for them? How many people are you positively inspiring? How many people have you helped? I was like, well, you know, this happened in the other place. Just somebody just messaged me or this person walk up to me. He's like, okay, great. So you've inspired more than one person a year that you've been on this planet. That's a success. Why are you beating yourself up so much? Relax. I was like, oh, damn. I was scoring the wrong way. I was looking at my plan. Where am I on that plan? On the journey, and Dad was pointing. I mean, Dad, you can tell, Dad is my little philosopher. And Dad just say, you have been so focused on the destination of your journey that you haven't been enjoying the journey. I have this plan that ends here. And I'm so focused on that. How close am I? What are the steps? And he's like, yeah, but look at all the stuff you've done on the way and had fun. And I remember one say, so if you have GPS, you know where you're going. So that's the first thing. You have to know where you're going. Leach in. Mike would say that if you don't know where you're going, you can aim at anything and you'll hit it with perfect accuracy. So you have to know where you want to go first. So here's where I am today. Here's where I want to get to. And who has done it before? Now I have a path. The GPS going to tell me how to get there. If I make a wrong turn, the GPS shout at me and cuss me? No. Rerouting. It just change and find another way to do it. There's not just one way to whatever you want to achieve. There are multiple paths, and if you miss the turn, you can actually back up. It will reroute, you can find another one. Don't think that, man, I missed a turn at 20, I missed a turn at 30. Guess what? It's going to reroute. You're good. You're good. Just focus on enjoying the journey to the destination. The destination might even change. But don't think that you have to keep going forward. I think that's the biggest mistake. It's not just one step in front or one foot in front or 1 foot each step. Sometimes you have to stop and look. Am I going to take one more step and fall off a cliff? If so, turn around. But I would say the most profound thing was talking to my wife, Catherine. It wasn't that. I remember we're arguing, right? I saw the 5 billionaires. 3 are going to, in my opinion, out of the 5, 3 of them end up divorced. One end up separated, and then one still married to the same woman, and them children love him. Richard Branson, who lost his wife recently. So I have a 1 out of 5 chance of becoming a successful businessman. A 5 out of 5 chance of becoming a successful businessman. 1 out of 5 chance of still being married to the same woman. That's how I look at it. Going into the relationship. So she know that. And the deal was that we're going to study all of those relationships and understand what went wrong on both sides. It's never one person, husband and wife. What happened that caused that? Let's now try and avoid those things. So we got through all of that. Sitting down and we get the closest one we've had. It's not even an argument. We're having a discussion. I said, boy, I don't know if it's really going to continue. Here's what I need, and I'm not getting this stuff that I need. I feel that I'm climbing this mountain right now, and you're not helping me. I have you on my back with this rope, and it's just so hard to climb the mountain. And he say, that's your problem. So what do you mean? And say, you have chosen this path that's really hard. You think I'm there and you're dragging me behind you, but I have chosen an easier path. I'm over here, and we keep intersecting, but I'm over here, and eventually I will get up there, but I'm not there. It's all in your head. I am not an anchor dragging you down. Get out of your own head. And from she said that, I was like, oh, right. I felt like a weight drop off of me. No, she's doing her thing. She's a teacher. She's making her money. She's helping to keep the house together. I'm given freedom to go do this. But I need to be home for these dates and do this stuff. And I was here thinking, why is she holding me back? I said, no.
Biggest support.
I'm here. I'm holding down this to allow you to go do that. I'm not holding you back. I'm holding this down. Different word. I was like, right. It just totally reoriented the way I thought. I said, blow out. And then it's funny, of course, I have some very close female friends of mine who also reminded me that there's no other woman in this world who would marry somebody like me with my kind of crazy quirks, that go and watch anime. And she watched every Bleach episode, every Naruto episode, Naruto Shippuden, play Halo with me, play every Zelda game.
Yeah.
Turn up in the line for buying Nintendo Switch, right? They're like, you're not finding nobody else like that woman. So just make sure you understand. If you and her broke up, you'll be alone for the rest of your life. I was like, thanks for putting it in perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's focus. Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. It was literally like, yo, man, no, trust me.
I see so much of myself in you.
Yeah.
I see that maybe
Driven.
this is what my future would look like. But speaking about,
let me save you some of the hard takes, sir. Yes.
Well, speaking about the future, how does Jamaica have to look in 10 years' time for more investors to take us serious? Not even just Jamaica, but the Caribbean. How do we have to look in 10 years' time for more investors to take us serious?
Well, as you can tell, the Caribbean is in different stages as far as I'm concerned, right? Cayman is far more advanced than Jamaica. Bahamas is ahead. Turks and Caicos is ahead. St. Bart's, if you look at that, is ahead. Barbados is ahead. And Jamaica is in the lower third in terms of income in the Caribbean. So we're in the bottom third. We're not in the top third of Jamaica. As much as we think we're the capital of the Caribbean, it's not us, right? And Guyana is moving very quickly to shoot past us in terms of development. But we have some advantages as well. Caribbean-wise is a perfect location for shipping and logistics. Anything that we can solve here problem-wise is the same problem in Latin America and Africa, in Southeast Asia. So the Caribbean, English-speaking, same time zone as the East Coast of the USA. We need to leverage that. But what is it going to take? It's going to take a concentrated effort from the general populace to hold government to account, to actually do things in a way that's transparent. We need more transparency. We need accountability. We need to get rid of corruption. We need to think of corruption as a bad thing. We need to care more about the speed of doing business in Jamaica than the speed of our athletes on the track. Prime Minister said we should do business at both speed. We should care about doing things really well, but also really fast. It cannot continue to be soon come, adjust so it go. We have to do better than that. If we're going to attract foreign investment, we have to do better than that. And there's no reason why we can't do that thanks to the internet and thanks to AI now. We can compete anywhere we go. As Jamaicans, as Caribbean people, we punch above our weight. We know that. Anywhere we go, but we also follow the rules. We line up when we want to get on the tube in London. We line up when we're going to the subway in New York. We don't jump the turnstile. We don't line up down here. We drive properly and follow the rules in those countries. We don't do it here. And we make all sorts of excuses. We don't take pride in how the place look. It's not clean. You go Japan don't have no bag of garbage being around the place, and it's still clean. Why? Because they've decided as a culture, we are going to be clean. We're going to take pride in the cleanliness of our environment. But also, the government needs to help the people keep their environment clean. If I feel like I remember I went down on tour Seaview Gardens with Elephant Man. And I was like, mate, how the place stays so the man them not care say dirty. He's like, oh gosh, so I did a walk into our trench town. There's a empty bin. It's not even a bin. There's a metal frame where a bin obviously should be. And there's garbage on there. I was like, man, that's so nasty. And the person said, yeah, but it's not their fault. There's no bin. I was like, yeah, but they should dump it somewhere else. But how often they come and pick up the garbage for them? And I never thought about that. To me, that works. I should have garbage coming in once a week, picking up the stuff. I never realized garbage truck not work. It don't show up for X amount of weeks. So where they're going to throw the garbage, that's why it end up in the gully. So you can't tell somebody that they're nasty or don't like their neighborhood when the services they pay for with their taxes are not being provided. Exactly. And if they're not being provided, me no want to pay the tax. If the road going to have all them potholes, me no want to pay no tax because I'm not getting the services that I paid for. If the government take forever to do the thing, I'm going to be upset. We need to be efficient. But every time in the bin, I said, but still look at the thing, the bin could go there and say, they got some money from some international thing, World Bank or whoever, give them the money. But the money had to be used, USAID, had to be used to buy from one of their suppliers. So then go buy the bin, plastic bin, put it in there and the bin melt in the Jamaican sun. So what kind of conditional grant that? Give us an unconditional grant so we can do it for our environment. And they've never replaced it since. I was so livid about that. These are the kinds of things that will have to change. Give people a clean environment, provide regular sanitation for them. They will then treat it better. But if, as a man that was there, said to him, if the government treat us so bad, why we would care how we treat the rest of UNO? Yeah. You look down on us and treat us bad. So, right? Bounty Killer talk about down in the ghetto, where the poor now have a thing. He's been a messenger and telling us, here's our reality. David, you up there, so Elephant Man did lost him. You're like uptown boy, you don't understand what me did got through down here, so. I was like, right, it is true. I took certain things for granted until my man take me. Yes, I got to go to country. I go Clarendon, mom come from Tapalston. So we go into Clarendon, dad is from Montpelier, St. James. I see where him have to wake up for him, cut grass, feed cow before him go to school. So I saw that. I saw rural Jamaica. I didn't see poor Kingston. I was never taken into that environment until we did Real Vibes on Mafago Studio with TOK and Wayne Marshall and Elephant Man and Beanie and these guys. And it was eye-opening. And then I played football real more and I have to play Tivoli Gardens and these guys. And I'm like, ratted. How we can do this in the capital city? We need to be treating our people better. All Jamaicans. And then the growth that we have needs to not be trickle down. We not believe in that. It needs to be bottom-up growth. We need shared prosperity where everybody is benefiting from the growth of Jamaica. And everybody is benefiting from the growth of the Caribbean. So we need leaders who believe in that. And so I'm going to do this one. I did it at a Jamaica Stock Exchange event. Some Jamaicans never like it. So Jamaica and Singapore. That trigger half of Jamaica when you bring that up. But let me just go through some examples. This country, you have to tell me which one, if it's Jamaica or Singapore. We're going to go through a thing. All right, so this country was a former British colony with a population less than 3 million people and was a member of a federation before it got independence. Which one, Jamaica or Singapore?
Jamaica?
Both.
Okay.
All right. This country was a major transshipment hub with a very large naturally protected port. Had more than one language, but English was the main language of business.
Jamaica.
Which one? And Singapore. Both. This country was next door to a very large trading partner. Got independence in the 1960s. Which country?
I would say Jamaica again.
Both. This country had a leader who decided that we have no hinterland or only resources or people, so we're going to invest in their education, their housing, and I'm not going to tolerate corruption. And we're going to welcome foreign investors. Which country? Jamaica or Singapore?
I'm going to follow the train now. You said both.
Jamaica was not it. That was Singapore. Jamaica never invested in our education in that way.
Yeah,
Jamaica never stood up and said, we are not going to tolerate corruption. Lee Kuan Yew said, you can't come in my parliament if you can't wear a white shirt.
So that's where it failed.
That's where we failed. We did not invest in our people. At their education, we did not invest in their housing, but most importantly, we did not focus on zero tolerance for corruption. That's where we fail. And that is why Jamaicans are triggered, because Lee Kuan Yew came to Jamaica in the 60s to say what we did after our, right? We had the West Indies Federation, and then Jamaica leave. So 1 from 10 leaves none. That's where that come from. We mash it up, because we want to run the whole thing. And if we're not going to be in charge, we're not having a federation. So we get independence in 62. Singapore join a federation with Malaysia. They get kicked out. And Malaysia thinks, I got done. And the man say, I have no choice. I have to survive. So they get independence. It's like 1965. Come to Jamaica to study our transition from British rule to independence. Supposedly gets a look at our development plan, comes back in the 1970s to see how we're doing since then. And the man in his book, From Third World to First, says, the Jamaicans had all this land, hinterland, great people. Theirs was a life full of song and dance. Theirs was a culture full of song and dance. Hard work they had left behind with slavery. And he talked about the decisions that we had made under pressure from the United States, right? He didn't have the same pressure we had, but under that pressure and the decisions that we ended up making because of that. And we go so, and Singapore go so. And that was a big part of that story. But Lee Kuan Yew goes and meets with Deng Xiaoping in China, and Deng said, man, I wish I had a country your size, not China's size. How am I going to fix it? And he said, let me help you. So they take Singapore's plan, and Lee Kuan Yew sends his Singapore people to an area called Chongqing. Chongqing, Chongqing. Google that, watch the videos. And they go and transform that place into one of the most modern cities in Singapore, in China. And they create a plan, special economic zones, all this stuff. And then they use that plan to then go on to other places like Shenzhen. They took a Singapore plan, did it with one town in China and turned it into a modern city, and then took that exact same plan and did it multiple times across China. So it can be repeated if you decide to do it. I don't think it's Chinese culture. I think it's culture, and culture can change. Jamaicans weren't always like this. We were known as hard workers. And when you go anywhere else, we're known as hard workers, as smart workers, as being focused on executing, doing things to the highest standards. And people love us. Everybody love us. So why we don't do it at home? I think it's because we don't feel appreciated, we don't feel enabled in the environment. The same seed that can plant in the desert and don't grow can go in fertile soil and grow. We need to make sure the Jamaican soil is fertile. That way we don't have 70+% of tertiary educated people leaving because them feel say, another right soil for me. I had to leave Jamaica to go and create this investment firm and live this life, to then come back and invest down here. I'm investing down here so that the next set of Jamaicans, the next generation, will never have to leave if they don't want to. They leave because they feel like they get an offer, but not because they think there is no future in Jamaica. And I remember when I was sitting with Mike, we have it on video, and when I talk about growth, and that growth can come, can Jamaica really get 5% per year growth? And Mike was saying, well, it's very hard to believe that growth is possible if you've never seen growth, if you've never tasted growth, if you've never felt growth. We need people in Jamaica to now feel it, because what they're hearing is that we have a record low unemployment rate. We have the highest net international reserves that we've ever had. We have a fairly stable dollar. Real estate are gone. Infrastructure boom. And a bunch of people saying, but me not feel it in my pocket. Exactly. Me not feel it in my pocket. So we need them to now feel it. If they feel that they don't have a future in this country, they're going to leave. And that's a very bad thing for us. And that is really my mission. I'm an impact investor. I take in capital and I'm going to invest it in Jamaica and the Caribbean so that people don't have to leave. And I want them to feel positive impact in their wallet and say, yeah, man, I can see that there's growth here. I can now feel it. I believe it. I'm not leaving. Jamaica is now the place of choice to live, work, do business, and raise a family. Let's do it.
David, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. I learned so much. I have a lot of homework to go, man. Anybody who watched this video, just watch every second and go through, because there's information in it for everybody. And thanks again for coming out.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
Big up. We're going to do a part 2.
We can do a part 2. I don't mind. Part 2, part 3, I ready, boss. You know what we're going to do a live one. We're going to coordinate with you. Let's figure out. I'll do it. I'll call Adam. I'll do AC Hotel. And we'll do a live thing, invite the audience and ask the questions and record it. I'll do a live podcast with you. And I'll do it at AC Hotel.
Yeah, man, we can do that, man.
All right, let's make it happen.
All right, big up yourself.
Big up. Respect it up. Love what you're doing. Keep doing that stuff, man.
Big up.